Look inside yourself. What do you see? Do you see order? Do you see a unified purpose marching towards a clear destination? Or do you see chaos? Most men, if they are honest, will admit that their internal world is not a kingdom. It is a riot. Your mind says, work, but your body says, sleep. Your ambition says, build, but your dopamine receptors scream for scroll. Your logic demands silence, but your emotions demand drama. You are not a ruler. You are a victim of a civil war that has been raging inside you since you were born. Niccolò Machiavelli, the most misunderstood thinker in history, wrote a manual for this specific problem. People think The Prince is a book about politics, about how to rule Florence or Italy. They are wrong. The Prince is a manual on physics, the physics of power. And power is the same whether it is applied to a nation of millions or a singular biological entity of one. If you cannot govern your own impulses, how can you expect to govern a business, a family, or a legacy? You can't. A city without a strong ruler falls to ruins. A man without a strong will falls to mediocrity. You have been told to be kind to yourself, to practice self-care, to listen to your feelings. Machiavelli would tell you that this is why you are weak. A state in chaos does not need kindness. It needs a tyrant. Not a tyrant who destroys, but a tyrant who orders. A ruler who imposes form upon formlessness. Today, we are going to do something dangerous. We are going to take the ruthless, cold-blooded strategies of Machiavelli and turn them inward. We are going to teach you how to become the prince of your own mind. This is not about motivation. Motivation is for civilians. This is about conquest. Welcome to the Machiavellian Guide to Ruling Yourself.
Chapter 1 of New Principalities, Killing the Old Lineage. Machiavelli begins his masterpiece by discussing new principalities, states that have been conquered by a new ruler. He gives a piece of advice so brutal that it still chills the blood of readers 500 years later. He says, "To hold a conquered state securely, it is enough to have destroyed the family line of the old prince." Read that again. Destroy the family line. Why? Because as long as the old bloodline exists, the people will always hope for a return to the old ways. They will always have an excuse to rebel. To truly rule, you must burn the bridge back to the past. Apply this to your own life. You say you want to change. You say you want to be disciplined. You say you want to be a new man. But you keep the old man alive. You keep his habits. You keep his friends. You keep his environment. You keep his excuses on life support, just in case things get too hard. You are trying to be a new ruler while letting the old prince live in the guest room. And that is why you fail. Every single time. The moment pressure hits, the old prince, that lazy, fearful, addicted version of you, whispers, "Come back. It was easier before. We don't need to do this." And because he is still alive, you listen. To establish a new principality within your mind, you must commit a psychological regicide. You must kill the king. This is the tyrant method of transformation. It is not a gentle transition. It is a violent coup. When you decide to change, you do not negotiate with your past self. You execute him. How? By removing every trace of his existence. 1. The purge of environment. Machiavelli knew that a ruler is only safe when he is surrounded by loyalists. Look at your room. Look at your phone. Look at your fridge.
Are these the tools of the new prince, or are they the relics of the old one? If you want to stop eating sugar, you don't try harder. You throw every gram of sugar in the trash. You burn the supply lines. If you want to focus, you don't use willpower. You delete the apps that the old you used to numb himself. You must look at your environment with the cold eyes of a conqueror entering a captured city. Anything that serves the old regime must be burned. If it does not serve the new order, it is an enemy, and enemies are not tolerated. 2. The severing of alliances. Machiavelli warned that nothing is more dangerous than powerful neighbors who want you to remain weak. In your life, these are the friends who prefer the old you, the drinking buddies, the gossipers, the complainers. They like the old you because he made them feel safe. His mediocrity justified theirs. When you start to rise, when you start to rule yourself, they will become uneasy. They will say, "You've changed. You're too serious now. Come on, live a little." These are not words of friendship. These are the whispers of a counter-revolution. The old prince would smile and agree. The new prince sees the threat. You do not need to be cruel to them, but you must be ruthless with your time. Distance is your weapon. Machiavelli says, men must either be caressed or annihilated. In social terms, this means either bring them fully into your new vision, if they are worthy, or cut them off completely. There is no middle ground. The middle ground is where the old you dies a slow death. 3. The destruction of identity. The hardest lineage to kill is the story you tell yourself. I'm just not a morning person. I've always been bad at math. I have a chaotic personality. Stop. These are not facts. These are propaganda posters put up by the old regime to keep you obedient. A prince does not have a personality. He has a policy. It does not matter if you feel like a morning person. If the policy of the new state is to wake up at 5 a.m., then you wake up at 5 a.m. The tyrant does not care about the feelings of the citizen. In this metaphor, you are the tyrant. Your feelings are the citizens.
The citizens will complain. They will protest. They will say they are tired. Let them riot. You do not govern by consensus. You govern by decree. Over time, when the citizens realize the tyrant will not budge, they will fall in line. The body will adapt. The mind will quiet down. But this only happens if you show zero mercy in the beginning. If you give the old prince 1 inch, 1 cheat day, 1 snooze button, 1 excuse, he will take back the throne. So ask yourself right now, are you ready to bury him? Because if you are holding a shovel in one hand and a lifeline in the other, you have already lost. Burn the lineage. Rule the ruins. Chapter 2. Mercenaries and Auxiliaries. The Myth of Motivation. Now that you have purged the old prince, you need an army to defend your new state. But be warned. Machiavelli identifies 3 types of armies: mercenaries, auxiliaries, and your own arms. He tells us clearly, mercenaries and auxiliaries are useless and dangerous. Why? Because mercenaries work for money, not loyalty. They are brave among friends, but cowards among enemies. When the war starts, they run. In your internal kingdom, motivation is a mercenary. You watch a motivational video. You listen to aggressive music. You feel a sudden surge of energy. You feel like you can conquer the world. That feeling? That is a mercenary. It is flashy. It is loud. It promises you victory.
But what happens on Tuesday morning? What happens when it's raining, you're tired, the music stops, and the video ends? The mercenary leaves. Motivation deserts you exactly when you need it the most, in the heat of the battle against pain and boredom. If you build your life on the foundation of feeling like it, you are building a kingdom on sand. You are trusting a soldier who will betray you for the price of a little comfort. Then there are auxiliaries. These are forces borrowed from a powerful neighbor. In your life, these are the accountability partners, the apps, the coaches. You rely on them to push you. Machiavelli says, "If they lose, you are defeated. If they win, you are their prisoner." If you need a friend to drag you to the gym, you are not strong. You are a prisoner of their schedule. If you need an app to block social media because you can't control your thumb, you are a slave to the software. True power, Machiavelli insists, can only come from your own arms. A wise prince has always rejected these arms and turned to his own. What are your own arms in the context of the mind? They are habits forged in silence. They are the actions you take when no one is watching and no one is cheering.
The tyrant does not need a pep talk. The tyrant does not need a mood. The tyrant has a schedule. A citizen soldier fights because he believes in the cause. Your discipline must be a citizen soldier, born from your own conviction, not borrowed from a YouTube speaker. Stop hiring mercenaries. Stop waiting for the right vibe. Build an army of boring, reliable, mechanical habits. They are not glamorous. They do not look cool on Instagram. But unlike motivation, they will not run away when the enemy attacks. Chapter 3. Better to be feared than loved. The death of self-care. This brings us to the most famous and most controversial law of Machiavelli. Is it better to be loved than feared, or feared than loved? His answer: it is much safer to be feared than loved, if one of the two has to be wanting. Modern society tells you the opposite. They tell you to love yourself. They say, be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. And look at the result. A generation of men who are soft, anxious, and fragile. Why? Because Machiavelli knew the nature of love. He wrote, "Love is preserved by the link of obligation, which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. But fear preserves you by a dread of punishment, which never fails." Apply this to your own mind. When you love yourself in the modern sense, you act out of obligation. You say, I should work out because I love my body. But the moment you are tired, which is an opportunity for advantage or comfort, that link breaks. You skip the workout because self-love also means resting when you need it, right? Love is a weak chain. It snaps under the pressure of laziness. Fear, however, fear never breaks. You must re-engineer your relationship with yourself. You should not try to be your own best friend. You should be your own commander. And a commander is respected and feared, not cuddled. When you set an alarm for 5 a.m., your body should fear the consequences of disobeying your will. What is the punishment? The punishment is the loss of self-respect. The punishment is knowing with absolute certainty that you are a liar. The punishment is looking in the mirror and seeing a subject who revolted, not a prince who ruled. You must develop a dread of punishment for your own failures. If you miss a task, do not forgive yourself immediately. Sit with the shame. Let it burn.
Machiavelli says a prince should not be hated, but he must be feared.
Do not hate yourself. That is counterproductive. But do not coddle yourself either. Establish a standard so high that your lower instincts tremble at the thought of missing it. When your alarm goes off, your legs should move not because they want to, but because they are terrified of what you will think of them if they don't. This is not masochism. This is sovereignty. A king who is afraid to hurt his subjects' feelings is not a king. He is a mascot. Do not be a mascot in your own life. Be the tyrant who demands absolute compliance from his biological machinery. Here is how you apply Chapter 3 today. We are going to introduce consequence. Most of you live lives with zero immediate consequences for failure. You skip the gym, nothing happens. You don't work, you still eat. This destroys fear. You must artificially create stakes. Write a contract. If I do not complete task X by time Y, I will punishment Z. The punishment must be painful. Donate money to a cause you hate. Burn a $100 bill. Take a freezing cold shower for 10 minutes. Give the contract to a friend or an enemy, which is better, to enforce. Suddenly, you will find that your laziness evaporates. Why? Because now fear is present. You are no longer relying on the mercenary of motivation. You are moving because the tyrant of necessity is holding a sword to your back. It works for nations. It will work for you. Chapter 4. The Lion and the Fox. The Dual Nature of Will. We have spoken of the tyrant and the army, but a ruler who only uses force will eventually be overthrown. Machiavelli introduces his most famous metaphor, the beast. He says, "A prince must know how to make use of the beast and the man. He must choose the fox and the lion." Why both? Because the lion cannot defend himself against snares, traps, and the fox cannot defend himself against wolves. Most men fail at discipline because they are only lions. They try to solve every problem with brute force. They try to push through the pain. They try to white-knuckle their way through addiction. This is noble, but it is stupid. Eventually, the lion gets tired. The lion steps into a trap he didn't see because he was too busy roaring. Your brain is filled with traps. Procrastination, rationalization. Just one more video. I'll do it tomorrow. You cannot roar at these traps. You must outsmart them. You must become the fox. The way of the fox. Cognitive deception. If you know your old prince, your lazy self, is going to sabotage you in the morning, do not fight him in the morning. The fox strikes before the battle begins. The fox puts the alarm clock across the room, so you have to stand up to turn it off. The fox sleeps in his gym clothes, so the friction of changing is removed. The fox unplugs the Wi-Fi router before going to bed, so late-night scrolling is physically impossible. This is not willpower. This is architecture. You are manipulating your future self. You are treating your brain like a stupid animal that needs to be herded into a pen. But when the trap is avoided and the work is right in front of you, and it hurts, and it's boring, then and only then do you bring out the lion. The lion is for the execution. The fox is for the preparation. Machiavelli warns, those who rely simply on the lion do not understand what they are about. If you are relying solely on motivation or grinding, you are a dumb lion. Be the fox first. Design your life so that discipline is the path of least resistance. Make it harder to fail than to succeed. Then,
when the moment of truth comes, crush the task with the ferocity of the lion. Master the duality. Be smart enough to avoid the struggle and strong enough to win it when it's unavoidable. Here is a fox tactic for you: the Trojan horse. Your brain hates big, scary tasks. Write a book. Lose 20 pounds. The brain will raise the gates and defend against this effort. So, you lie. You tell your brain, "We are not going to work out. We are just going to put on our shoes." The brain says, "Okay, shoes are easy. I accept." Once the shoes are on, you say, "We are not going to run. We are just going to step outside." The brain accepts. Before your inner laziness realizes what is happening, you are already running. You smuggled the discipline past the gates of resistance. Stop announcing your grand plans to your subconscious. Sneak them in. Deceive yourself into greatness.
Chapter 5. Fortuna, Building Dikes Against Disaster. Even the strongest prince, with the best army and the sharpest mind, faces one final enemy. An enemy that cannot be killed. Fortuna. Luck. Fate. Machiavelli describes fortune as a violent, raging river. When it floods, it destroys everything: trees, buildings, soil. Everyone flees before it. No one can resist it. Most men look at the disasters in their lives, a breakup, a firing, a sickness, a depression, and say, "It was bad luck. There was nothing I could do." Machiavelli calls these men fools. Yes, you cannot stop the river from flooding, but you can build dikes and dams when the weather is calm. He writes, "Though nature is such, it does not mean that when the weather is quiet, men cannot take precautions, so that when it rises, it goes into a canal." This is the essence of Stoic preparation. Most of you live your lives in fair weather mode. You only have discipline when things are going well. When you are happy, you go to the gym. When you are paid, you save money. But what happens when the river rises, when the tragedy hits? Your discipline collapses because you built no dikes. You have no systems, only good vibes. The internal prince assumes that the flood is always coming. He does not train for the beach. He trains for the war. He does not save money for a car. He saves for the collapse. He does not build mental strength for Instagram quotes. He builds it for the night his mother dies, or the day he loses everything. Because when that day comes, and it will come, you will fall to the level of your training, not rise to the level of your hopes. Building the dikes. What is a dike in the mind? It is a non-negotiable routine. A routine that is so solidified, so mechanical, that you can execute it even when you are grieving, even when you are heartbroken, even when you are bankrupt. The dike is the ability to function while bleeding. Machiavelli says fortune is a woman and she favors the bold. But in this context, fortune favors the prepared. Do not wait for the crisis to test your strength. The crisis is the test. The preparation must happen now. Look at your life. Where are you exposed? If you lost your job today, do you have a dike, savings, or skills? If you lost your motivation today, do you have a dike, discipline, or habit? If not, you are sitting in the path of a flood, hoping it won't rain. And brother, it is going to rain. Tonight you will practice the pre-mortem. Close your eyes. Imagine it is 6 months from now, and your life has completely fallen apart. You are fat, broke, alone, and miserable. The old prince has returned and executed you. Now work backward. How did it happen?
Did you skip that one workout? Did you send that one text you shouldn't have? Did you get arrogant? Trace the disaster back to the single decision you are about to make today. See the flood before it hits. Then, open your eyes and build the dike. Fix the crack in the wall before the water starts pouring in.
Conclusion. The legacy of the self-governed. We have walked a long and dark road together. We have executed the old prince. We have disbanded the mercenary armies of motivation. We have learned to fear our own potential. We have mastered the cunning of the fox and the preparation of the stoic. But why? Why go through all this pain? Why rule yourself like a tyrant? Is it just to be more productive? Is it just to make more money or get six-pack abs? No, that is too small. You do this for one reason: sovereignty. In the modern world, true freedom is extinct. Look around you. Men are slaves. They are slaves to their phones, slaves to their lust, slaves to the algorithm, slaves to the opinions of strangers they will never meet. They think they are free because they can buy what they want, but they cannot do what they want. They want to stop scrolling, but they can't. They want to work, but they can't. They are puppets, dancing on the strings of their own impulses. By becoming the tyrant of your own mind, you cut the strings. This is the paradox of Machiavellian discipline. You must impose a dictatorship internally, so you can enjoy democracy externally. Only the man who completely owns himself can walk into the world and truly be free. When you command your focus, you can learn anything. When you command your emotions, you can endure anything. When you command your habits, you can build anything. You become a state of one, a superpower of one. History remembers the great conquerors: Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon. But there is a conquest greater than mapping the globe. It is the conquest of the 6 inches between your ears. If you can plant your flag there and hold that territory against the siege of the modern world, you have achieved something rarer than an empire. You have achieved self-mastery. The final decree. Let this video serve as your constitution. Do not watch it once and forget it. Return to it when the rebels inside you start to rise. Remember the laws of the internal prince. Kill the lineage. Destroy the environment and identity of the old you. Reject mercenaries. Motivation is a liar. Habits are loyalists. Feared or loved. Respect yourself enough to fear your own disappointment. Lion and fox. Use strategy to avoid the trap. Use force to kill the task. Build dikes. Prepare for the worst while living in the best. This is not a self-help guide. This is a declaration of war against mediocrity. The throne is empty. The crown is heavy. But it is yours, if you have the strength to take it. The rebellion is over. The coronation begins now. If you are ready to take the oath, if you are ready to rule yourself with an iron fist, then leave your signature in the comments. Write simply, "Long live the Prince." Let that be the signal to the others. Let them know that another sovereign has risen. And if you seek more strategies from the dark side of history, if you want to arm yourself with wisdom that society tries to hide, subscribe to the channel. Do not do it for me. Do it to build your council. We are building a legion of men who refuse to be slaves. The gates are open. The choice is yours. Rule or be ruled.